This is a Unit 3 review sheet. So we're going to get right into number 1, which relation is a function. So we're only looking at the x values. If the x repeats, it is not a function. So D is the only relation that the x's do not repeat. The x does not repeat in D. 1 repeats, and so does 2 for C. That's out. That's not a function. 2 repeats for B. That's not a function. And -1 repeats for A. That is not a function. Number 2, Rashida paid a handyman X dollars per hour for a 5-hour job plus $25 maintenance fee. The total charge for the job is $175. So if I'm doing this problem, I have $175 just like this. And a 5-hour job is 5x. The 25 maintenance fee, that is the initial value. So you know it's something like this, 5x plus 25. And A is your answer. Number 3, the graph below illustrates the number of acres used for farming in small town New York over several years. Using a line of best fit, approximately how many acres will be used for farming in the 6th year? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw my line of best fit. Remember, when you draw a line of best fit, it goes through the center of all the points, and it goes to 6, pretty much goes to 6. And which, using line of best fit, approximately. So it's only for the 6th year. Uh, mine is not exactly 100, but that's the only one it could be. All right, it says 300, which is not, is up here. So that's definitely not it. A is your answer. Number 4, the table below represents the total miles as a function of the number of gallons of gas that are in the tank. So what does the rate of change represent? Does it represent the cost of a Honda Civic? No. Does it represent the cost of each gallon of gas? I don't see any money here, so no. The total number of miles you can travel per gallon of gas. How many miles a Honda Civic could go on a full tank of gas? Doesn't say anything about a full tank. C is your answer. And if you do x1, y1, x2, y2, and you get 240 minus 60 over 8 minus 2, you get 180 over 6, and that's 30. So it's 30 miles per gallon. So it's telling you the total number of miles you could drive in a per gallon of gas. Remember, slope or rate is always to a unit of 1. All right. Number 5. Which table represents a relationship that is not a function? Not a function. So the x repeats. It is not a function. X is repeating here. It is not a function. X is repeating here. It's not a function. X is not repeating. This is a function. B. X is not repeating. C is a function. The X is not repeating. D is a function. Go down to C. Kelly created 2 functions. And there they are. Function A is y equals negative 2x plus 10. And function B is a table of values. Which statement about the rates of change means slope? Rate of change means slope, and looking for when they're true. So if they're talking about the slope, I'm just going to put down m equals -2 because the slope is before, the rate of change is before the x. And then I have to do x1, y1, x2, y2. And I'm skipping the -1, 1 because I don't want to deal with that -1. And the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I get 4 minus 1, 7 minus 4, and then 1 minus 0. Nice and easy. 3 over 1. So the slope of this table is 3. Slope of function A is -2. Slope of function B is 3. So function A and function B have equal rates of change. No, they're not equal. Function A and function B have negative rates of change. No, this function B is not negative, but function A is. Function A and function B have 0 rates of change. No, function B has a greater rate of change than function A. Yes, function B has 3 as a slope. Function A has -2. So D is your answer. Number 7, which graph represents a function? This one you do the vertical line test, and the vertical line test goes through once. That means the x is not repeating, and it is a function. So A is a function because it goes through once. When you do a vertical line test on B, it goes through multiple times, 1, 2, and 3, not a function. Do a vertical line test on C, it goes through twice, not a function. Gone. D, not a function. Goes through twice. Easy question. Number 8, which one has the least rate of change? The least rate of change. So I'm just going to make my point right here because I'm going through the corner, and I'm making my point right here. Just be careful because the x-axis is going by 5, while the y-axis is going by hundredths. So the slope is, and the rate is 100 over 5, which is 20. Then I'm going to go down to B, which is easy because it's just an equation. The rate or the slope is always right before x, so it is 19. Then I'm going to go over to this table, and I can't avoid the negatives, but I could start over here. This is x1, this is x2, this is y1, this is y2. Just be careful because this table is kind of like on its side. All of these values are the y's, and all of these values are the x's. So just be careful with that. I'm going to write the formula down, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, you have a calculator for this. So y2 minus a y1 would be a double negative. Double negative becomes a positive. It's like keep, change, change. And x2 minus x1 would be 1 minus 0. So that would be 3 over 1, and that means the slope of C is 3. D, the cost of a house cleaning service. The cost of the house cleaning service was $40 per hour with a $30 initial fee. 40 is the rate. So let's go back up to the question. Now that we did all that, which function has the least rate of change? The least is C. It's 3. Number 9. Which information is true about the graph? The water temperature is increasing. If the water temperature is going down from left to right, it is not increasing. Gone. I'm going to look for increasing again. No. Okay. The water temperature is decreasing at a rate of 0.5 per minute. The water temperature will reach 0 at 40. Let's see. I'm just going to go and no, it's not going to reach 0 at 40. All right. Water was placed in a freezer at a temperature of 20 Celsius. So that's not true. So let's just go ahead and see if B works out. It's decreasing at a rate of 0.5 per minute. So I'm just going to put this right here, and I'm going to go down and across. So this is 5. That's decreasing, so it's negative. And this is 10. All right, and so that means that slope is 5 over 10. Which is this is a -5, and that means it's negative 0.5. It's decreasing. So B is your answer. That was kind of like process of elimination there. So just work through your questions. Number 10, John and Mary worked jobs over the summer break. The equation y equals 18x shows Mary's earnings in dollars, y for working x hours. John's earnings is shown in the table to the right, and I labeled it for you. John's earnings, Mary's earnings. So since they're talking about per hour earning, they're talking about slope, rate. Mary is making $18 an hour. let's go ahead and figure out what John is making. So immediately when I see a table, I do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You do 104 minus 52 over 8 minus 4, and that's 52 over 4. All right. So John's rate is 13, and that's all per hour. This is per hour. So how much does Mary earn? How much more does Mary earn per hour than John? You do 18 minus 13, which is $5 an hour more. Good. All right, number 11. The table below shows the hours worked last week by employees at an insurance company. Here's the managers and the office staff of all the employees. What is the approximate relative frequency percentage of the office staff who worked less than 30 hours? So you have to figure out all the employees. So I'm going to add up 5 plus 15 plus 8, and I'm going to put a total here, total column. So this would be 28 altogether, managers. I'm talking about just managers. Then I'll do 35 plus 15 plus 8 to get that total, and I get 58. Also, just so I have all of the totals, under 30 hours would be 40 people in total, and 30 to 40 hours would be 30, and then over 40 hours would be 16. So then to add that up, 40 plus 30 plus 16 would equal 86. And you could check it easily because 58 plus 28 has to be equal to the same thing, which is 86. So of all the employees, we're talking about this number right here, all of the employees, 86. 86 goes on the bottom. That's the total. What is the approximate relative frequency of office staff, just the office staff, who worked less than 30 hours? So office staff is here, less than 30 hours, 35. Then take your calculator, do 35 divided by 86, and you will get a messy fraction, decimal, 0.469. I'm just going to put it like that. So it says approximate, so I'm going to move this over and you get a decimal. It does come out to 40.7%. D is your answer. All right, number 12, how does the rate of change of this graph compare to the rate of change of the function? So here's the function right here. So I'm going to put m equals -2. And then the rate of change in the graph, I'm going to put a point here, and I'm going to put a point here. All right, so we have -2, 1. So m equals -2. So the same. The graph has a rate of change of -2, and the equation has a rate of change of 2. No. Both the graph and the equation have rates of change of -10. No. Both the graph and the equation have a rate of change of -2. Yes. And D is out. Number 13. All right, so all 3 people deposited a set amount of money into their savings account each month. The graph below shows the total amount Benjamin has in his account, making deposits each month. Table represents the amount Layla has in her account after making deposits. And also there's another person, John. His equation represents the amount that he has in the bank. Right, so let's go ahead because we're going to have to definitely, no doubt, answer a question using the information above, which statement is true about the rates. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with Benjamin, do rise over run. Be careful because the x is going by 1s, so this is 1, but the y is going by 600. So M equals 600 over 1, which is 600. And that's 600 per month. So now X1, Y1, X2, Y2, M equals 1,800 minus 1,400 over 2 minus 1. So that's 400 over 1. Layla is 400. John is 400. That's the number before X. So now let's answer the question. Using the information above, which statement is true? Layla and John are saving at the same rate. Layla and John are saving at the same rate. So A is your answer. John is saving 100 less than Layla. John is saving 100 less than Layla. No, they're saving the same amount. Benjamin is saving 500 per month. No, he's saving 600 per month. And Layla is saving the greatest amount of all three people. Nope, Benjamin is. So A is your answer. Let's go on to 14. Which best describes the graph of y equals negative 10x minus 5? The linear function decreases, yes it does, because it's a negative slope from left to right with a y-intercept of negative 5, yes. So here's the y-intercept of negative 5. Let me erase that because that's blocking that. So there's the y-intercept of negative 5, that's the B. It is decreasing from left to right. A is your answer. Linear function increases? No, it doesn't. It goes down from left to right because there's a negative slope. Linear function decreases from left to right with y-intercept of 10. The y-intercept is not 10. The y-intercept is negative 5. It is not a U-shaped curve that opens upward because it's not something like this. Y equals x squared plus 6 would be a U-shaped curve opening up. All right, number 17. Compare the rates of change of two functions listed below. All right. Function 1 is x1, y1 is a table, so you go ahead and you do your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then so 16 minus 10, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is 6 over 2, m equals 3. And now, function 2, we don't have these a lot, but in this case, it's just a statement. You have to get the slope and that y equals mx plus b from it. The value y is 3 times the value of x. 3 times the value of x is 3x. Increased by 6 plus 6. So 3 is the slope. Now we can answer. Function 1 and 2 have the same rate of change. Yes, they do. Function 1 has a greater rate of change. No. Function 2 has a greater rate of change. Nope. And function 1 has a negative rate of change, and function 2 has a positive rate of change. No. A is your answer, and we're on to the next question. Number 18. Go back. Yep, okay. Number 18. Which equation listed below is linear? Linear, y equals mx plus b. If you have an exponent next to a variable, it's non-linear. Exponent next to a variable, it's non-linear. Exponent next to a variable. This is linear. This is like y equals mx plus b. This is the slope of this function is 1/2, rise of 1, run of 2. The y-intercept is 0. This is linear, C. And this has an exponent next to the variable, non-linear. Which phrase best describes a non-linear function? That means that's something that is not straight. The perimeter of a rectangle is a straight line. Perimeter, let's see. Perimeter of a rectangle, length and width, straight line, that's out. Cost of a cell phone based on data used. So cost of a cell phone goes up as the data is used, so that's a straight line. Cost of gasoline as a function of gallons purchased, that will also go up in a straight line. The volume of a sphere, which is a circle around it, it's not linear. Sphere is not linear. That's why D is the answer. Pick the one that is not linear, that's non-linear. All right, number 20. Mr. Wallace surveyed 75 students at Poole Middle School to find out the students' favorite place to eat lunch. The results are shown in the table to the right. All right, so it's all based on this table here. All right, so these values right here. So I would just pick, like, honestly, you know that this number right here has to be 100%. So it's not all 100%, and these are all 100%. So C is not the answer because look, 100%, 100%, 100%. The only one that's 100% is usually this one, which is the bottom right, because that represents 100% of the people taking the survey. So this 75%, you kind of get that out of there. And then also there's 100% right here for D, and there's also 100% for B, but these shouldn't be 100%. So D is out. Let's see if B kind of works out. I'm just going to pick a couple of numbers. So 16, I'm going to put 16 over 37. All right, and I'm going to try it out. 16 divided by 37, just to make sure. 16 divided by 37 is 0.43. So 16 over 37 is point. So like I said, just pick some numbers. So 16 over 37, 16 over 37 is 16 divided by 37 is 0.43. So that's supposed to be 0.43. That's not 20%. That's out. Let me go back over here for D, and because this is 0.43, I did 16 divided by 37. This was 16 boys. Let me just go up and just say, all right, see that 16 up here? And I put that over 37. Whatever percentage I get here, it's supposed to match in the table. And that 43, this is 0.432. So that matches basically 43%. Let me take another one. I could take 21 divided by 37. So now I'm going to do 21 divided by 37 and see if that comes out to 51%. And I'm sorry, 57%, and it comes out to 0.567. So if you put that decimal over two places to the right, it becomes 57%. This works. D is your answer. And C is out. All right. All right, on to the open-ended part, which is a little bit difficult, this one. It's a table. Number of people with health insurance has increased since 1989. The graph below represents the number of people with health insurance from 1989 to 1994, which in this case it was increased to 2000. What is the increase? The A says, what is the increase in the number of people per year? They want you to figure out slope from 1989 to 1994. So basically right here to here. So right now I'm going to draw, since they want the slope, I'm just going to go ahead and draw my triangle, do rise over run. So remember, this is number of people in millions, but I'm going to count by twos anyway because this is what it's going by. So it's just 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is like 10 million people. And this is going by years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in 5 years. So they have 10 million, rise over run, 10 million in 5 years. And that is 2 million per year. So that is my rate. So you put it right here, 2 million people per year. During the next, this is B, during the next 3 years, the amount of people increased at triple the rate of 1989 to 1994. What is the new rate of change over the next 3 years? So in the next 3 years, so on the lines, you could put 2 million was the rate from between 1989 to 1994 per year. If the rate triples, comma, the rate will increase to 6 million per year. And the way you get that is 2 million. If it triples, times it by 3. You get 6 million. So instead of a rise of 2 and a run of 1, rise of 2 and a run of 1, you get a rise of 6 and a run of 1. So I'm going to graph that right now. Rise of 6. So I'm going to go up 2, 4, 5, 6, and a run of 1. 2, 4, 5, 6, and a run of 1. 2, go up a little bit more, graph. 2, 4, 6, and a rise of 1. So right at that time, that's what the graph looks like. The rate becomes steeper, the slope is steeper because now it's going up 6 million per year instead of 2. And that's basically it. All right. All right, number 22, find the rate of change in the function. If you haven't done this enough during the test, wow, x1, x2, y2. All right, so just show you work. Let me do it over here. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you have a calculator, so 5 minus 8 and 5 minus 3. So this is going to be a negative slope. Is negative 3 over 2. So negative 3 over 2. Find the initial value of the function. You have 2 ways to find the initial value. It doesn't say how. You can work back to 0, or you could do the point slope formula. Right? The point slope formula is the easiest to me, so I'm just going to do that. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And since I have the x1 and the y1 on the table already, I'm going to use that. Y minus y1, which is 8, equals, and you could change it to negative 1.5 because you do have a calculator. So I'm just going to change it to that, and then x minus x1, which is 3. I would change it. So this one, you have to do distributive property, and you get y minus 8 equals negative 1.5x. And then negative times a negative, remember, is a positive. Negative times a negative is a positive. So you have 1.5 times 3, negative 1.5 times negative 3, and you get 4.5. So then you get plus 8 and plus 8. and you get y equals negative 1.5x, and you just have to add 8 to 4.5, and you get 12.5. So the B is 12.5. And this is the equation. Oops, this is the equation. Y equals, put it on the line. Oops, yeah, there we go again. Uh, Negative 1.5x plus 12.5. Use the point slope formula. Number 23. The table below shows a relation between x and y. Explain if the relation is a function or not. All right, so we're going to see if this is a function. I'm going to circle all of the x values. The x values do repeat here. So I'm going to put the relation is not a function because the x values repeat. You could put the input -1 and -3 go to two different outputs. We will accept just this. The relation is not a function because the x values repeat as an explanation. So I'm going to box that out. If it is a function, create an ordered pair that would make the relation table above not a function. Okay, so you can't do B right now because it says if it is a function, it's not a function. So you can't create an ordered pair, but obviously that is on the test. If you made it this far, this is going to be a question that is going to be on the test where you would have to create an ordered pair that would make the relation not a function. So obviously you would pick an x that would be in the table already to make the x's repeat, and it would be not a function. All right, all right. All right, so number 24 is not on the test anymore. We did take it off. And so I'm just not going to do this. I'm going to skip it. All right, so number 24 is not on the test. So I'm going to skip it. And number 25 is not on the test. So I'm going to skip that. This will be number 24. So this is what you would have to do. It says compare both functions, function A and function L. Function A and function L. Tell which has a greater rate of change and a greater y-intercept. So let's talk about the rate of change of each first. So let's go ahead and do x1, x1, x2, y1, y2. So let's talk about function A. M equals 11 minus 5 over 3 minus 1. So that's 6 over 2. So function A has a slope of 3. Function L has a slope of 2. So the greater rate of change goes to function A. But now you have to find the y-intercept, and y-intercept of this function is a lot easier. It is this number right here, which is 10. But we don't know is the function, the y-intercept of this function a. So we are going to use the point slope formula. Point slope formula is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I already have my y1 is 5. My slope is 3, all whole numbers, which is nice. And then my x1 is 1. So y minus 5 equals 3x, doing distributive property. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. You add 5 on both sides. 5's cancel. You get y equals, bringing it up here, y equals 3x. Negative 3 plus 5 is plus 2. So this is the equation. So the y-intercept is 2. So let's talk about answering the question now. Function a has a greater rate of change. Function function L has a greater initial value, or y-intercept. And that's really the answer to the question. That's full credit. All right, and that's the end of the test or review sheet.